Hello and welcome back to Down to the Wire, the official podcast of Williams International Real Estate. And today, with my business partner once again, Mark. Why are we here today?
We're here today because we have got some questions from the Williams International team. So a few of the staff have asked us some questions that we'll go over today. And hopefully we can share our story a little bit more and share some insights about what it's like to either be a real estate agent when we were one, or what it's like running the business. So hopefully some people can take some. We actually had more than 9 views that I predicted last time. We had 400 views, so
hopefully somebody's watching.
I'm feeling a little bit starstruck, to be fair. So hopefully we can add some more value to those 400 people.
Yeah, and see how nosy the staff are. Okay, so go on, kick us off.
So the first, actually, Mr. Pashby had a fair few questions, and a lot of them are pretty good. So we'll kick off with the first one, which is, what is your proudest moment?
It is to do with Williams International. I'd say, obviously, when I made the leap from being a broker to coming and partnering up with you for the business, it was obviously a big risk. I was doing pretty well working as a broker, and we were in a tiny little business centre, like a little workshop. So it wasn't much of a company at the start. So I think for me, the proudest moment was when we started getting an influx of people wanting to come and work with us, friends, not a massive amount of people, but in a short space of time, those people that came over meant we had to look at other options. And I think the proudest moment was when we decided to take a new office. And obviously we were signing a tenancy for the new office, which was a 3,000 square foot office that could fit 50, 60 people. So I think that is when it all became a bit like more real, and yeah, definitely one of my proudest moments.
I've actually got a photo of me signing the lease, so hopefully if Mig can add it, that will appear here.
You look a lot skinnier back then.
I look a lot fatter back then. I think my proudest moment, like obviously the biggest thing that I'm proud about in my whole life is Williams International and how it's gone, and some of the people in there and things like that. But in terms of actually pinpointing a moment, I do have one from my real estate career, which was signing on the last Emirates Hills deal that I did. There's a bit of a background story about that one, because I first got hold of that unit about 2 years prior to signing the deal, and I was always in the seller's ear, always keeping in touch with him, but he wanted too much money. He wanted at the time market was, this is 2018, 2019, so the market is down, very, very down, and he wanted 40 million. It was worth 20. That was the kind of thing. But I kept in touch with him, and he did come down gradually on his price into the 30s. I lost contact with the seller, and the property actually got taken out of my name at Allsop. And then the seller's representative messaged me out of the blue. Again, I see it was out of date in someone else's name, so obviously I took it back. And I just kept pitching exclusivity with the seller, and trying to use the seller's representative to get my foot in the door. Kept doing viewings. He was doing viewings with other companies, and as it went, after like 2 years of being in touch with him, I finally got it exclusive, and I sold it within the next week for 26.5. So it was just like a bit of it made all the persevering on this particular unit worthwhile. Obviously my biggest deal that I did, and then the funds went into Williams International. Yeah. So that was probably pinpoint a moment. And Russ Wilson, if you're watching, he'll know about this, but I came out of the house after it getting signed by the seller. Russ jumped out of the car, and like in anticipation, like this, and I just went like that, and we just hugged it out. We just hugged it. So that was like the moment where I was like, wow, like all that hard work that you do, over the course of a year,
2 years.
or however long it takes, and then you do a deal like that, and you kind of get a bit of it's probably relief more than anything that all of that effort was worthwhile. Like not just on that particular property, but going all that time. Yeah, where you work, you do all that work, and I bet there's a lot of real estate agents out there that know what I'm talking about, where they work so hard.
And that's why you never need to give up on a client. You know what I mean? Like, the amount of times I've message clients and got nothing back, but you just keep going, persevere. That's 2 years to eventually get to the end goal. So yeah, I mean, that's a big lesson out there for any brokers starting out, to show that this is a long game. You know, and you can't just give up after a month or two if the client doesn't give you what you want. 100%. Okay, right. So next one, what was the turning point in the business? I'll start off with my opinion on this. So obviously when we started out, we ended up attracting some experienced brokers, which was really good. Super experienced. They're our friends. Okay. So they came over. So we had this idea to build a company of just experienced realtors in Dubai. Obviously naive to think that we could only do it that way, but that's the way we started. And that's what we did do for a good 6 months, potentially. You know, that was all that really came over. We didn't want anyone fresh, brand new to the industry. Obviously, a little bit further down the line, recruitment was slowing up as we didn't have a recruiter, and kind of, you know, we'd attracted who we could attract.
It wasn't a never-ending chain of friends, was it?
No,
It was
exactly. So that was always going to dry up. And then I think the turning point was you coming to me and saying you want to give one of your friends a job, who I do know as well, Mark McCabe. Name and shame. He's never worked in the industry before. He'd never worked in an office. He was a carpenter, but obviously a very good friend of yours and mine. Passionate to come out, and we gave him an opportunity. And it wasn't until someone coming out with no experience, but just that passion, that drive, determination, hard work, and just like the respect for the company, and listen to everything that we taught him and how to do the job from start to finish. And he absolutely flew from day one. And I think that was the turning point for me, looking at how we need to recruit, because if you recruit people from other agencies and they have been in the industry, maybe they picked up bad habits, or maybe they're not happy and they'll blame the company, but maybe it's something they're actually doing themselves. You know, if they're not doing well at another company, then they think the answer is jump company. Sometimes that is the answer, but other times it can be the industry and it's not suited to you. And then you're kind of like taking them back and trying to teach an old dog new tricks. So I think we kind of flipped our recruitment in terms of employing people that are fresh off the boat, have no experience, but just have the attitude that we're looking for. And we've had so much success in that. There's countless success stories in the office with people that have never done the job before.
I'd agree with that. And I would also add that when we were only looking for experience, it was kind of like at that time, we might not have had the tools to have an intake of 4 brand new starters, because the structure of the business was we had area managers, right? It was us two there, and then also we had area managers. And then when we learned, we already kind of knew in that year, 2022, we knew that it was a bit of a flawed role. And then when we did that feedback sheet at the end of that year, there was people that were saying they didn't have enough time with their managers or whatever. So I think that was the recruitment, but the turning point as well was changing the model from 4 different area managers or 5 different area managers to having one sales director who obviously came in. Dan smashed it, and he had the time. He wasn't brokering his own deal. So I'd point that out, that I believe now, and this is a lesson learned from experience, I believe that in real estate, maybe not all the time, and maybe if they have a small team under them, they can handle it. But I believe, not in all circumstances, but in the circumstance we were faced, that managing and brokering at the same time, it kind of is a flawed role. It can be a flawed role.
I agree.
Because you are managing a team, but doing your own viewings. When your team needs you, you're making your own calls, you're doing your own viewings, you're doing your own deals. You've got enough things to deal with. And then also, when you're helping your team and you need to be here for them and here for them, you're not brokering your own deals. So there's a, you know,
I mean, it was clear to see in our office that it didn't work, and I'm not saying that it doesn't work for everybody, and I'm sure there are people out there that can do it, but it's a big job to do. Because like I said, in our office, the people that were the best managers had the worst year in real estate they've ever had, and the ones that were not great managers did more deals than they'd done ever before. So it's just the proof is in the pudding. Do you know what I mean?
It's difficult to juggle both. So I think that definitely the recruitment ethos plus the change in that structure at the end of 2022, I think that was probably a turning point for us.
Okay. What is your biggest regret since starting?
Can
up?
I read out? Did I read out the first one? I read out the. I want to read this.
Oh,
one
you
out.
read this one.
Yeah,
then,
sorry.
Go on.
What is your biggest regret since starting up?
I'll let you answer this one.
Yeah, I don't have any regrets since starting up. Because we've learnt from it. I think that there were instances, and it's probably recruitment related. Bringing people in, and at the end of the day, our business and probably any business out there is a recruitment business. You've got to get the right people in the right positions to really flourish. So I think we were probably a little bit naive with a couple of recruits, and we probably recruited some people knowing it was a risk, and probably if we thought it through a little bit more rather than going gung-ho with let's offer them a job, I think that we could have probably saved ourselves a bit of time and money. But like I said, I don't regret doing it, because moving forward we will do that, and we've learnt from that.
Yeah, 100%. No, I mean, obviously, yeah, there's no like single regret. Obviously, it was the best decision that I ever made in my career. But yeah, in terms of the naivety of recruitment and making decisions based on if you like somebody, which is something that I was probably doing. If you get along with them, but you can get along with somebody, it doesn't mean they're right for the role. So, and obviously that was a long process in learning that, but that's just being naive to business. I owned a business in the UK, but it was me and one business partner, no employees. So it's the first time actually going through that process. And I think we've never said once that we're amazing businessmen, and we're learning as we go. Like I say, we're 2.5 years old now, and we've learned a lot in that 2.5 years, but I'm still not going to sit here and say I know it all, because I don't at all.
But I would say we're the best that we've ever been. I know we play it down a lot, and we say, we're just two men that gave it a go, and we say we're not the best businessmen in the world, but I'm starting to think, yeah, we are that, but we have got a lot better with some of our, decisions. We're only getting better. Like I say, we're only learning. Miles to go.
Yeah.
So many things, so many areas to improve on ourselves and the business. But I think we're the best that we've ever been, because we've just gone through all that.
100%.
What are your thoughts on agents using social media?
Yeah, obviously social media is a fantastic tool. It's a fantastic tool in terms of agents using it for promoting their properties and whatnot. But I have a conflicted view of social media. I mean, I'm not on it, and I haven't been for about a year. And people will look and say, "Oh, you're a businessman, you need to have it." But we have our company account, which obviously is ran, and that's professional. But for me personally, I just find that it can be a distraction. So if an agent uses it and they're so rigid with how they use it and it's just for work, but you know what it's like, you have a social media, you use it for work, you're posting villas, the amount of times you see people just flicking through videos, watching cats fall off the side of a table and flicking. So like, it can be a distraction. So it depends. I think obviously, yeah, it's an amazing tool, got good reach. We sold a villa from it, but yeah, I'll just say it depends on the person. Like, they need to not get distracted, because the amount of times you walk around the office and you see people just flicking on Instagram, like, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's an open question, this, because agents using social media, I would typically say, when you're in the office, turn off all your notifications for social media with Facebook and Instagram and all the rest, Snapchat, whatever the kids are on these days. I would turn them all off when you're in the office, turn them back on when you're out. But if the question is using social media for work and for posting content and for posting videos and properties and stuff, I like the idea. And I interviewed a girl last year who was a real estate agent in Scotland. She moved out here, and she said that the lion's share, I think 9 out of 10 buyers that she got were from her TikTok videos. But I follow her on LinkedIn and I see the content she makes, and she puts in a lot of effort, and she's consistent almost every day with producing more and more content. So if you're going to use it, you have to go balls deep with it and produce content after content after content. It needs to be punchy. It needs to be different. It needs to, have all the elements for you to get traction. Otherwise, you're not going to get, it can be more results.
Of a distraction if you don't give it 100%. Yeah. And I know there's a couple of accounts that I know, friends of mine, that do really well and they get a lot from it. And I've worked alongside them, and I've seen the like fruits of the labor. But again, it's a long process. And if you're going to do it half-heartedly and then use Instagram the other half of the time just as a distraction, just sack it off. But yeah. Moving on. What's your thoughts on post-COVID agents working away from the office?
Yeah, I mean, I've had this is I don't even know how I feel about this one because there's obviously conflicting views. I can only speak from experience and my own personal experience, what I found, and that I never worked like I worked when I was in the office. And I was a little bit different where if there was less people in the office, sometimes I had to work on the late shift in the Springs office. So you worked from 12 till 8. Yeah. And so when people were darting off in the afternoons and the evening for viewings, and then when people were clocking off at 5, 6 o'clock and there was less people in the office, it meant that I felt like I could get more done and more calls done and admin or whatever. I found it better being in the office, but I do know that, you know, with the way that the world's gone and all the rest of it, there's a lot out there that think that they can work from a coffee shop or they can work from home or they can work from X, Y, and Z. So I would say, if you think that you can do that and if it works and if you're hitting the numbers that you know and if you're filling your potential and you're hitting your targets, you're hitting your numbers and you're working from the top of the Burj Khalifa, from the top of the Burj Khalifa, it doesn't matter where you work if you're hitting the numbers. But I would say if you're not, you go back to basics and the tried and tested formula and the formula that I've seen everyone that's been a success around me, yourself, Hashby, you know, people that I've worked with at Allsup and at Williams International, they've all had working from the office in their agenda. So I would probably side with working in the office, but if you can work it from home and hit the figures, I think
it takes a very unique character to be able to be so self-motivated, to have no one around them and do really well, especially when you're starting out in the industry. Like, obviously, if you're coming at it brand new, like 100%, you have to be in the office. It's who you learn from. You learn from the people around you, the more experienced people. If you've been in the industry 5, 6 years, like, you know, obviously Pash, for example, he's been in the industry for 8, 9 years. He can work from anywhere. Like, it's second nature to him. He doesn't need to be in the office. When he's in the office, he's head down, focused. So obviously with his role, he doesn't have to be in the office. And he will be successful. But it's a long time coming, and I do feel like, post-COVID, everyone thinks now, in different kind of industries, for sure, but we are a team. As much as everyone's there for themselves, like, we are a team and you bounce off each other. And we've countless times asked the office, what do they like? We even did a survey. Would it motivate you to be able to work from home for 3 days? Or whatever it was. And unanimously, really, it was more percentage on wanting to be in the office.
People or that it didn't matter either way, it didn't make a difference for them,
because they're there to work, and also they want to be somewhere like, this job is tough. It takes a lot of hours of your day. It's mentally challenging. Like, it's nice to be around people doing the same job as you, going through the same process. So, yeah, in the agency, I think working away from the office, 90% doesn't work.
Yeah, I would say that it's a good point. Working in teams, and how many times have we seen it when someone's got a new listing or someone's got a buyer that they've just got out viewing, and they'll go round to their team and say, what have you got? That was standard. If I got a buyer booked in and they were out viewing the next day, I'd go round each desk and say, what have you got? What can I get into? Write them down and then arrange the viewings. And another example of this is last Monday, obviously after our Monday morning meeting, we had the meeting where everyone says they're hot buyers and hot properties. And off the back of that, straight away, a big deal was done. And that was genuinely, that would not have been done if you weren't in the office.
And these are two agents, just to add, that don't have to be in the office. Yeah. And the only time they have to be in the office is Monday morning for the meetings. And the Monday morning when they did the deal. So yeah, it is important. I 100% agree to that. And it's a bit more old school agency. It's going around with a pen and paper and speaking to your colleagues. But you can never forget that, because we're not reinventing the wheel with this. Yes, you can add things. You can add Instagram, TikTok, social media, property videos. But end of the day, the job's the job. And we're not reinventing it. Go around with a pen and paper, speak to your colleagues. And I think that's where a lot of deals will be done. And that's why I would say that post-COVIDs, pre-COVIDs, I still think get in the office.
What are your thoughts on agents moving away from three-piece suits? Three-piece suits to more casual. We're going to have a full-on argument about this now.
No, I mean, obviously, yeah. Like, obviously, it used to wind me up that you didn't As soon as we started Williams International, I think you must have burned all your suits.
I've worn a suit one day and I hated it. Yeah, my ethos on this is very, very simple. I think that you can look smart without wearing a 3-piece suit, without wearing a tailored suit, whatever. I'm not saying that that's right. Like, I'm not saying I look better, smarter. I'm not saying you don't look. Not saying you don't look smart. I'm just saying that you don't have to wear a suit to look smart. And I do get. I'm not completely convinced on this, but I do get sort of salesman vibes with the suit.
What are we though?
I know you are a salesman, but you know how you're perceived by the client. I'm not saying that you know
turn up in a dirty polo top like you usually got after lunch. You drop some food down yourself.
Usually ketchup down my polos. But yeah, simple as that. I mean, you like suits, you like tailored suits, you like, you know, think everyone should wear suits in the winter. Obviously,
no. Do you know what it is? I think in an office where we found this as well, where we were a lot more relaxed with our dress and a uniform at one point, and we went a lot more strict, and now it's kind of eased up a bit. The reason being is it leaves too much. I can't think of the word. It leaves too much up to the imagination for people.
Flexibility.
So you have somebody coming in chino tracky bottoms and dirty trainers, and it's just like, you know,
it's hard to manage.
Whereas if everyone's in at least, you know, there's a base level of like, you know, looking smart. Obviously, I don't wear a suit every day, but I do wear them 9 times out of 10. For me, I think different when I first got here. Obviously, I have a lot of tattoos, and I don't know, 8 years ago, there wasn't so many agents with tattoos. So I was always a bit concerned. When I'd meet a client, they would judge me, so I would cover up. So I'd always wear a suit. I'd always wore a suit my whole life. So it's kind of second nature to me anyway. So yeah, and I just kind of continued that through. Obviously, it's very different these days. Dubai, the real estate market's come along. I mean, every other agent's got tattoos now. It's very different. So that isn't such a worry. But still, if I was going to meet a client, I want to look professional. I want to come across well. I want to look clean, smart, tidy. So I would always put a suit on. But, you know, each to their own.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. What are your thoughts on Dubai real estate recruiters selling the dream with fake promises?
Yeah, obviously. It happens. I mean, it was one big thing that I've noticed when I came into this industry was that the people around me, I didn't, for me, I kind of understood it maybe more than most people, and I was self-employed anyway, so coming to a commission-only job, I knew it was going to be tough. I wasn't naive to the fact of how tough this job would be, and I think you was on the same page as that. But when I started, the amount of people that thought it'd come over and be an easy ride, and then it got me looking into, like, you know, what people are saying, what the recruiters are saying, and I understood why they thought it may be easy, because, you know, they think they're going to come out here and then, at the time, it was like £100,000 to £200,000 tax-free just by walking into the office. And it's, yeah. And it meant that people came with their savings, didn't like the job, and they were leaving, going home, you know, so after spending 10 grand in 2 months. So, yeah. Do
you know what? I don't mind them saying the potential earnings. You can earn 100K, you can earn 200K, you can earn 250K. It is true. I don't mind them saying that or advertising that or posting about that if the managing of the expectations comes after. And that's what it is. And I've said it before, where, you know, 99% of people that come over to Dubai to do Dubai real estate fail. And I've often wondered why. There'll be a lot of reasons specific to the, you know, the individual, but I think that the managing of expectations when they do come over, I think that'll be a key thing. So yes, you can earn this money, but first of all, very, very rarely will you earn 200K in year 1, 2, or 3. Yeah. You know, unless you're super special, have loads of contacts, whatever it is. I'm not saying it's never been done before, but very, very rarely. I don't know what the percentages would be, but very few people in the first few years. So that needs to be the first thing. Yes, you can earn 200K, but don't think you're coming over and earning that from the get-go. And then the second thing is how much you have to put in. And it is, we've said it over and over and over again, how hard, how grueling, how much you have to work to hit those sorts of numbers. You know, every year it's 12-hour days, it's 7 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, I'd say minimum. You're always on your phone. You've always got to have your phone on hand, even in the evenings, to answer, you know, phone calls. It's a relentless job. So that those two things, need to be said. And we do say that as well.
Yeah.
On our interviews, if Ella fires over a candidate to us, I've heard Dan on interviews as well, we will try and almost scare people away, because if they still want to do the job after we've told them how tough it is, then they're the right person for us.
100%.
I don't think that gets done enough, and it's a shame. But you can see it from the recruiter's point of view, why they would sing and dance about this sort of stuff, because at the end of the day, they want to get, they want to recruit someone, they want to get someone interested. So I don't mind saying, yes, you can earn all this.
It's true, you can earn the money, but yeah, like you say, it's the journey you take to get there. I think it depends on the certain company and their recruitment strategy and how they're trying to grow as well. Obviously, one of our main focuses is staff retention, which has always been something that's been really big for us as a company, because of being in a revolving door kind of situation previously in our old companies. It's not good for the company culture. And that was something that when we started this company, we said, we want people to work for us. We want people to stay. We want to make it a good environment to be at. And the only way you're going to do that is by making sure that when the people come over, they know exactly how hard the job can be. So they don't come in after a week, think, oh my God, and leave. Which is what can happen if you're not honest. So yeah, I think it's best just to be brutally honest with candidates. Obviously, can be amazing, tell them the good parts, tell them the success stories, but also throw in a story of somebody that's come over and hasn't done a deal in 3-4 months, but they're persevering and and they're still going, because it's two sides to every story. And I think everyone needs to know that before they come out and get into this industry.
That would probably work in a positive, but that never happened with me. But that would have probably worked in a positive way for me. And I remember when we had the office tour at Allsop and Allsop, and we went over to the board, and whoever was doing the office tour was saying, look at how much money everyone's earned, right? There was like 40 names up on the board at the time, and there was like 28 people that had done a deal and had earned good money. I weren't looking at them. I was looking at all the people that didn't do a deal, right? All the people that had earned zero. And I was thinking, I cannot afford to be one of them. Like, look at the amount of people. And that gave me a rocket up my arse, to be honest. That knowing that, if you
it's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy. Not everyone just smashes it. So it was helpful for me to know 12 out of 40 don't do a deal in 1 month. Like, and that could be you. How do you balance the line of friends being employees? This one from Mark McCabe. All the rest of them were from Tom Pashby. So thank you, Mr. Pashby.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
From Mark McCabe, our Williams International Director's Choice of 2023. How do you balance the line of friends being employees? This is a very relevant one, because Mark is a very close friend of mine who he employed about 18 months ago. So
yeah, we've already talked about him. Obviously, he has been very successful, and he was someone that was kind of like, as we said, the turning point for changing our recruitment strategy. So, thanks for that, Mark. You've done really well, mate. Yeah, I mean, I've had some very good friends work for, my best friend one of my best friends in my life worked for us, and another one of my friends that's been my friend the whole time in Dubai worked for us as well. So, and Mark has got two of his very close friends working. So it is a very suited question. You can start, Mark.
Well, I mean, there's nothing that we particularly do. We have in place that balances the line, if you like. But what I would say is, it is a bit, it is a bit difficult. There are some friends that I've had join the company, and then there's some friends that I have made and gotten closer to as we've grown the company.
Yeah.
So there's two, and I've been very, very lucky that two of my friends that have joined have been very respectful and got their heads down. They've got mad professional pride, and they've done very, very well. So there's never really had to be a sticky conversation.
Yeah.
Where I need you to do this more, or I need you. They've already done it. I think that comes out of respect. So they've already proven that. Other friends in the company, sometimes I expect them to be the example for the newer staff, or for the new guys coming in, or people that are in their early days. I want them to be an example. I want them to step up more because we're friends. Whereas I think that sometimes they might think that they can sort of get away with little bits and bobs, nothing that really irritates me, but they can get away with X, Y, and Z because we're mates.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a double negative, really. But yeah, typically I think everyone's very respectful, apart from a little bit too much banter on the work chat.
On the group chats, you know who you are.
You know who
Rein
you are.
it in.
Apart from that, no, but they've been very respectful. And I think if we did have to have a serious conversation, we have had serious conversations with people I regard as our friends. I think they take it on the chin. We can kind of tell them as it is a little bit more, and they appreciate it. We're respectful, they're respectful. I mean, look, so it's been okay
for them as well. Though, obviously, you know, there's people that I've got working for me that I was friends with before we made the company, and they were either my friends from UK or they've made friends here and they've came. So at the same time, you know, they've come over to join us as a friend, and now they work for our company. So I understand why they're not going to suddenly start, you know, bowing to our feet. Do you know what I mean? They're our mates first, and now they work for our company. So I get it's hard for both, I would imagine. But yeah, there has been times when maybe I've had to pull someone aside and say, look, like, obviously you're my mate, you know you're my mate. I need you to back me up on this rather than going against me. And normally 9 times out of 10, you know, they will do so. I mean, another thing which I will mention is when you have friends coming over, the pressure of them doing well is big. So that was something that I struggled with, but luckily luckily for them, not so luckily for Williams International, 2 of my mates that came over had the best years they've ever had in real estate while they were working for us. So I was so happy for them. And then both of them went off and set up their own company, which obviously I'm super proud about. Obviously it's, you know, it's the best thing that could have happened for them. And they're both doing really well in their respective companies. So that's Adam Gower, Newstead, and Johnny 𝐀𝐁𝐎𝐔𝐓 from 𝐀𝐁𝐎𝐔𝐓 Properties. So
I think that's a thing to point out as well, is that it doesn't even matter if they are your friend or they're not. I would have wanted the best for Johnny and Gower, and if that's the best for them in their eyes, then I'm happy for them. But regardless of if they're a close friend or if they're someone that I don't know when they join the company and they've been with us for a year, I'll always support their decision. If they're a friend, I'll be supportive in that decision, and if they're not, I will still be just as supportive. And I remember Mark even being asked on a couple of occasions when he joined, so what percentage commission are you on, or how many features have you got, how many premiums have you got? It's same as everybody else, like no special treatment. Even if my dad come over and worked for me, it'd be starting at the bottom and working his way. It doesn't matter who you are.
You wouldn't get any product. Right, okay.
All right, next question is a very heartfelt one from Dean Wilkinson. So thank you for this, Dean. I look forward to answering this one. What's with the bunnies in my messages to the team?
Do you want to explain what that means?
A little bit of banter, but yeah, it all started off in, well, there's a couple of group chats that we were in, you know, team group chats, and I think it's natural that, you know, when you're in a high pressure sales job, commission only, where you get ghosted from clients and, you know, very, very difficult every single day. Stress levels can be high. And, you know, in the group chat, there'll be scenarios put in there where this person did this, or I'm not happy with this. So I just like to put a rainbow, a bunny, and a love heart, just to remind everyone to, you know, take a breath and, you know, remember why we're here. And yeah, it's just
spread the joy,
spread a bit of positivity. I don't think it goes very far.
I don't know. I've seen some people replicate it, but more in a sarcastic kind of way.
Yeah, but that's why. So I think I told you that anyway, Dean, to be fair. But
everyone knows.
The other 400 people we have watching, that's what I do in my messages for some reason.
Bunny, rainbow, love heart. Remember?
Yeah, remember that.
Okay, and
well, I ask, what is the best thing about Wire?
There's obviously lots of things that I can sit here and talk about being the best thing, but one of them for me is just the actual environment, their culture. In terms of everybody in the office, I think that was the biggest thing from coming from other bigger corporate-based companies to having an office where everybody is kind of like pumping up everybody else, where in such a hostile environment, in such a it's not hostile, but a high-paced, like, you know, high-stress environment, there's not big fallouts. There's no scraps. Like I've been in the office when we was working as brokers, and I've seen people getting chucked into the meeting room and trying to get smacked and stuff, because that's the environment we're working in, commission only, money changes people, there's people going at each other, and that was something that I just couldn't have in the office. So the fact that we kind of like slowly but surely built this environment where everybody seems to be there for themselves, but also for each other and for us, I think the fact that how much respect a lot of the staff have and how much they want the company to do well as the individuals around them, I think that's the best thing about why. And I think it's quite unique to have that in a real estate office.
I would say exactly that. I think the support that people show others. I know that there's a lot of people in that office that help others even when they don't have to. Pashby would be one that I think of straight away, and I've had multiple times. Obviously Pashby's getting on with his own work and his own deals and all the rest of it, and I've had multiple people come up to me and tell me, oh, by the way, I spoke to Pashby last night, and he's like the guru of the office. Like, you've got an issue, go to speak to Pashby. That issue will be resolved. He's got a lot of knowledge and he likes helping people. Not only him, there's multiple people in that office that will lend an ear and try and help out. So the supportive sort of culture, it's not perfect, of course, but there are that is probably a massive positive that we've got. Also, like when someone does a deal, I've had it a few times as well. I remember when Paul Meaty did his first deal. I had 2 or 3 people come over to me and be like, "Oh, I'm so happy, happy for him. He deserved it, stuff like that." And whenever we do a deal and it gets put in the chat group, the deals group chat, straight away everyone's in the normal group chat saying, "Well done, congrats, well deserved," and all the rest of it. So I like the supportive. It kind of feels like a support network.
Even as far as we do our training twice a week, and one's an open forum, and the seniors want to come into these with the new starters. They don't need to. They're not even in the same team. But we've had people say, "Yeah, I want to come in. I want to be in that training so I can lend what has happened to me throughout my year or 7 in the company to help people that they don't even know." And that would never happen in a company that had a revolving door, because people don't want to help people they think aren't going to stay. But obviously with our retention being so good, they know that they can lend the help, and 9 out of 10 will stay. Do you know what I mean? So I think that is one of the best things about the company, also, and the holiday incentives.
Yeah, of course. We'll talk more about that. So, I mean, Jarek actually asked something a little bit similar to what I asked. I asked, what has been the biggest challenge or struggle since setting up? And Jarek asked, what are some common challenges you faced when managing a team in the real estate industry, and how have you overcome them?
There's been a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not been an easy journey at all.
Just full disclosure on this as well. Obviously, I think that we should just mention that we want this podcast to add value to everybody that it possibly can. And I think that it's great that everyone sings and dances about all their success and everything, the money that they're making and the properties that they're selling and all the rest of it. And that inspires me when someone tells me, oh, someone's been in real estate for a year and they've just done $1 million deal or whatever it is. It's inspiring. It's good to know that the opportunity's out there. But I have never seen anyone talk about the flip side of the struggles that they went through to get there, or the, any problems that they might have and all the rest of it. And I think that it's important to discuss it, especially since nobody else is doing it, to discuss, how hard it has been for them and the struggles that has been. Because everyone knows that everyone has struggles, but nobody talks about it. So we want to kind of talk about the challenges that we've had and talk about the struggles that we've had. So, in case anyone else is listening that might be going through a sticky patch or a rough period, they might be able to, resonate with us and take, as we always say, a little bit of value from us, and it might, give them that little bit of a kick that they need to get back up. So this is why we want to, obviously, I've asked this, Jarek's asked it as well. This is why we want to talk about the things that don't necessarily go right, or the struggles, as well as the successes.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, there has been many challenges. I mean, obviously, going from just being a broker, you're self-employed essentially as a broker. Care about yourself. You get 50-50 commission, whatever you're on. You are the master of your own pocket. essentially. It is on you. The company's there to support. But going from that to then not brokering at all and relying on the company's success based on the people you employ, I think that was a big challenge for me personally, just because I do the job in a certain way. I work as many hours as I work, and I just expected that everybody worked the same way as me, and everyone works differently, and that's managing people. It's a struggle. I didn't realize I was naive to think that you just employ them, they come in, they do their job, they make money. But when you have a team of, well, now like 40, 50 people that are on commission only, you're not just an employer, you're like a support network for them as well. And I think that has been something that I've learned to, to adapt to over the last couple of years. But that's an ongoing challenge. Like, that's we're never going to just nail that.
Overcome it. Yeah.
Overcome it. Like there's so many personalities, there's so many people need help with so many different things. But we won't ever stop supporting the people, no matter how hard it is. And, we've had conversations with brokers and they're not in a great place, but we'll be there for them. We'll support them, we'll sit down with them, have a coffee with them. Like that's something I've never done before. So that was a big challenge, but it's rewarding as well at the same time.
I think just to add to that, I was also naive to think that, and I was very, very naive to think everyone had the same sort of objective as I do, and everyone thought the way to get there was the same as what I do. And so I think one of the biggest struggles, again, that we're learning and working through is knowing that everyone wants something. Not everyone wants the same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's striving towards a different goal, and also the way that they work and their how they best perform, that is all different as well. We need to provide the best possible platform to be success in our opinions and in our view, whilst also listening and understanding and appreciating other views, which is why we do the feedback sheet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We need to kind of almost adapt a hybrid role. We were quite similar with our what we wanted and how we wanted to get there, but not everybody has the same. Provide the platform, but it needs to have a certain level of flexibility so that different people who work in a different way can also strive. Not everyone's going to do exactly what you did, and that's okay. Like as long as they get there, if they get there in their own way, that's great. We need to support that. And they'll be different. So that was a bit of a challenge.
I also want to go back and say as well, like obviously in terms of, this is more to do with the actual business side of things. Obviously managing like cash flow is something that was a big challenge, especially turn of like last year, was it January 20?
Yeah.
That was a stressful month. I mean, obviously you're coming off the back of December, notoriously for real estate, the lowest month of the year. Not many transfers, and also the most expensive month for us because you got your Christmas party, people.
Office rent comes out.
Office rent comes out. All these kind of things, and you just think like the job, the expenses, and the actual cost per month. I was naive. That again, very naive. Been naive along the whole way, to be fair. But no, like you think that Property Finder, Bayou, all these portals, the office rent. When you actually work out how much that costs and you have to pay it monthly, and deals don't come in monthly, deals come in, they drip feed over 1, 2, 3 months. I think that, being very careful with cash flow and we didn't manage it very well initially. No. And that's been a learning curve because that January of that year was very stressful. And it was, we're looking, thinking, we've got a lot owed to us, but when's it coming in? Do you know what I mean? And we ended up having to not take a salary, not get paid. For a few months, because obviously we get paid last. But did I ever think that owning my own business I would earn no money in a month? Absolutely not. Like I thought, get a business, employ some people, make some money, and not really have to do too much. But it was completely wrong.
And we've learned that we do have to pay a little bit more attention to it. And I think obviously when we started the company, I just wanted to be that person that nobody else had. That was kind of like my thing, right? I wanted to be the person that I never had when I was working. I had a boss that I remember even saying when I was in England, I would one day like to set up my own thing, and it was always like, oh, it's very, very hard though. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? going into different companies, it was always like I'm better than you kind of thing. And I'm, they didn't quite give me everything that potentially I thought that I should. So I've learned the hard way. We gave, like, in terms of even, paying for marketing tools, give them everything that we never had, give them some, oh, you want an advance on your pay, give him everything, put money on top, but that is not sustainable, as we've learned. We will always give as much as we possibly can, and that's a selfish good deed, because if we give as much as we possibly can, the idea is that they will be happy and in return, work with us for a long time. And so it's a selfish good deed. I'm not trying to say that I'm any sort of Jesus, but the ethos is give as much, give as much as you can. But there is,
I think we've learned
there's
the
a cap
limit
on
of what
that.
we can actually give. And and it's hard because people are used to one way, and then you have to go the other. But I guess that's just growing in business and understanding what we can physically do. Because it was just anything anybody wanted at the start, anything advances, this, that, extra pay. Yeah, it's fine. It'll come in. Have it, take it. But it's not sustainable. And
we were kind of like we were doing it with our eyes closed, essentially, as well, weren't we? So we've learned. So, I would just say the last challenge. Well, biggest challenge, it says biggest challenge, for me was obviously when I was a broker, I had none of this, none of the feeling of, potentially not being good enough or whatever. I had that feeling that I wasn't as good as all the other agents. That just made me work harder, because I thought, well, if he does, 100 calls, that means I've got to make 200, right? So I never had that in the early days of Wire. When we were in the business center, I never had that. And then when we opened our new office with 12 staff, within 2 or 3 months, it had doubled to 25. And I remember an actual point where I walked into the office with 25 people in there. I mean, we're twice the size now, with 25 people in there. And it was whoa, like we're an actual company now. Like and so this is just what goes on in my head. But I just think I was thinking, well, there's going to be a certain expectation on my shoulders now. I'm the owner. I don't even want to take the, I don't want to take the limelight or anything like that, but you have to. You are the owner. Like, what your actions are and how you are and whatever, you are being judged whether you like it or not. People are going to have a certain level of expectation. If they're a new starter, what have you achieved? Like, why should I work for you? What can you do for me? And all the rest of it. So you have to get that certain level of expectation. And as we've grown bigger and bigger and bigger, the feeling, obviously I've talked about it a lot, the imposter syndrome gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And to be fair, this year it's settled down a little bit. I think confessing to the team last year at the Christmas party helped, and I had a lot of people backing me and supporting me after that, the Christmas party. But I'd say that has been my biggest struggle, is that sometimes getting a feeling of not being good enough, or being a bit of an imposter. But on the flip side of that, I'm not saying that I am not, I'm down here. I just back the people that I'm working with so much that I'm looking at these people and these levels, management, yourself, Dan, Craig, Ella, and then the top 10 brokers from last year, and then even some of the new people that come in that have got their head screwed on and they're decent, Scott, even Amit blasting the calls from day one. And I'm just thinking, I'm surrounded by talent. Like, I'm surrounded by some people that are decent. Am I in that? You question yourself, am I in that? So getting your head around that. But I think like I say, but obviously, as I've always got your back with this, and I always tell you that it's just not like, you shouldn't think like that, because obviously you shouldn't have that imposter syndrome, because obviously everybody sees you for the value that you give as well. But I guess it's easy for me to say that to you, but obviously it's harder when you actually go. Do you know what, actually, and if anyone's else, the point of this is to add value potentially to someone else who's in the same position. I'm sure there's loads. Yeah. And I read a book on it. I got bought a book for Christmas, and I read one part of it that said, you got to stop thinking that your thoughts are fact. And that just hit me there, because I've got this thought where everyone's judging me, or everyone has that expectation of who I am. But what if you're wrong? What if they don't have that expectation? Do you know what I mean? Of who you are. So I think it's important to remember, even if you do feel this kind of way, your thoughts aren't necessarily fact. Like, think about it a little bit more logically. Yeah, but what actually could they be thinking? What's something nice that they could be thinking? You know what I mean? So that helped. That has helped me this year.
Okay, we're out of time. That went quickly.
Well, we only got halfway through, but I guess we'll have to do potentially a part 2 or
Yep.
or just we'll be back probably with another
banger.
episode, another banger. If you missed the first podcast, by the way, we'll put it up here.
It could be up here though.
Could be up there or there, but if it's not up there, it means that our marketing guy couldn't put it up there. So we'll put we'll put a link in the description or something. But if there's any people watching this who want some questions asked in the next podcast, we could probably do like a little 10-minute snippet of asking some questions. So feel free to drop us a message or comment on YouTube or Instagram or wherever you're watching this. And that's it. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.